Here we are, right on time.
That's right.
Mike, how are you feeling?
I'm pretty good. You can get a little bit of a chest thing now, but a little bit of like a wheeze type of deal, but a lot better. When I did the podcast on Sunday, I was very sick with the flu. And so I just started being covered in sweat over the course of it.
Well, I had to do that once with a Santa costume, so looks like we're even.
You had the flu and you had the Santa, or just
no? I was sweating.
Okay. Well, the Santa again was your idea.
Well,
so
but you made
not
me keep it on.
Well, that's because you said you were going to do it the whole time. So sorry for holding you accountable.
Oh well, I'm big on accountability. So
that's the role.
Spike, are you loyal to a specific brand of running shoe?
I am. I'm a Brooks guy.
Have you tried other brands, or you just found Brooks? And
I used to be.
Brooks?
I started off as a New Balance guy. I moved to an Asics guy, and then I found a Brooks shoe that solved an issue I was having, and I have not switched since. It's probably been 10 years since I've been in Brooks.
The Ghost?
No, I use the. It's not called the same thing. It used to be called the Ravenna. Now it is the GTS something.
Okay.
Hold on. Brooks, GTS, Adrenaline GTS.
I want to be the guy that names shoes.
It's like a mid stability shoe. The Ghost is like a heavy stability shoe, if I remember correctly, and the Adrenaline GTS is like halfway stability or whatever, which is what I need. But I'm a huge, and there used to be a Ricky listener who worked at Brooks and got me, I had a friends and family login, so I got 40% off everything for like years, even after he left Brooks, and now I don't have it anymore.
Never shared that one with me, did you, Spike?
I did not. I didn't know you were a Brooks guy.
Interesting. Never heard of it, but
major shoe retailer that's a Ricky listener currently and has a similar.
Oh, really?
Similar benefit that
you
you
get
to share with us? No, I'm asking.
He's asking.
Open question.
Yeah.
If there's somebody out there currently that has that,
wow,
hit the tip line. You know where to reach us.
The tip line. We should have a tip line. I'm renaming the voicemail the tip line.
Oh,
just tips that you have for us.
We can call it the tip line.
Any secret stories?
Totally fine with tip line. All right, you want to do this podcast about the basketball team? The Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by Draftkings Sportsbook. Sign up for Draftkings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. MortgageCS. Become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP at mortgagecs.com/Ricky. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. The official sponsor, I guess if you're only listening, that didn't make any sense. I showed it. The official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter is subscribe at rightsrickysanchez.com/newsletter. On the show today, is August really over if Joel Embiid and Paul George aren't playing well? We don't know. We'll have to figure that out. The Sixers start their season, that is correct, with a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks without Paul George, without Joel Embiid. The Sixers are being investigated by the NBA. But Tommy Alter interviewed Barack Obama, but at least Mikal Bridges fucked his shot all up. So something's good there. Bark in the Park is Saturday at Rose Tree Park for Providence Animal Center. We have now raised over $23,000 with our team. So a sincere thank you to all of the members of the team who have raised the money, all of the donors, to our sponsors of the team, which are MortgageCS, Ella Pavorsky, and Draftkings. The t-shirts came today. They look awesome. Still, if you join the team and raise $100, you'll get a shirt. And that would be great. We'd love to get to $25,000 now raised. That would be really great. So the link will be in the description of this pod. But thank you so much. $23,000 is very generous, and it will do a lot for Providence Animal Center, for the animals and for the people who support them. New episode of the Draft Council is out this week. with Dan Ollinger and Ahmed Jama, our draft podcast, talking about the extensions for the rookie class of 2021, some NBA predictions, and talking about early season college basketball scrimmages, including one Cooper Flag. Just search Draft Council wherever you get your podcasts. Carl Landry Record Club Live is a month away, a little under a month, November 20th. At Underground Arts, we celebrate the release of It Starts With One, the book about Lincoln Park, with our friend Jason Lipschitz. It's me, Mutlu, AU, Jason, doing a pod about the book. And then listen to new metal all night. We got a DJ and going to drink some Surfsides and some beers and hang out at Underground Arts. 2 tickets available, GA ticket for $10, and the $29 8-cent ticket gets you a book, and Jason will sign it for you. Surfside iced tea and vodka. The best. And if you're in Pennsylvania now, you can get it like basically anywhere. You used to have to go to a liquor store, but now you can get it at gas stations, you get it at grocery stores, get it at beer distributors, all that kind of stuff. Every one of the varieties. This is the standard iced tea and vodka, but there's the lemonade and vodka, the iced tea lemonade and vodka, the green tea and vodka. They're all awesome. They all only have 100 calories. All only have 3 grams of sugar, and none of them have bubbles because it's iced tea. Fucker, and iced tea does not have bubbles. You can get a sampler pack right there at statesidevodka.com if you don't feel like going out to the store. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is ramping up according to plan, Mike Levin.
We're back. Can you just play, just pick a random episode of this podcast at some point over the last 11 years and just play it. And I'll just sit here and try to mouth along with whatever I said then. Let's just do that.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's always the same.
It is.
It's always the same.
Because you think it's going to be different. And it's only different in like distinct ways, nothing in like a big, broad, structural change way.
Yeah, the formula is always the same. It's just the people playing the characters, even those are mostly the same. We did yesterday, we did a show on IP about all this stuff. And it was just like people yelling at me and mostly at the end I was just like, I kind of get why you're mad. I'm numb to it, but I kind of get why you're upset. So well, let's do the game first. So the Sixers lose to the Bucks, who, after the first quarter they just seemed outmatched, I guess, from a size standpoint, from a shooting standpoint, just outmatched. I thought there were I hope you're going to want to hear this. I thought there were some like positive things to take from it. It's very hard to dig into the negative stuff in game one without Paul George and Embiid, with just sort of like made up lineups on the fly. I think the only specific disappointing thing was like, wish Maxey didn't shoot 10 for 31. But wish he got a call here or there, but overall, just like the Bucks are too big physically, I think, and have too many players, and missing Embiid and Paul George in game one against a team that was returning a lot of players, just really just couldn't keep up,
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah.
Of course this is going to happen. Not that Embiid and Paul George being announced as like, hey, neither of them are playing. That sucks, and that should probably be what we talk about first. But
we'll talk about it.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
As far as the game goes, like, a 15-point loss to a good Bucks team without our two best players. Like, yeah, this is about what I expected. I wasn't mad. I forgot to wear my Fitbit because I was working during the game. But that is something that we should track and make sure my heart rate is nice and stable over the course of this season. But I was at least. I wasn't upset during the game. I was sort of just nodding along, man. Like, this is sort of what you expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Maxey,
In the back of my head, I was kind of hoping, like, oh, maybe this is one of these games where Maxey keeps him in it the whole time, and they, one of those. That
sure.
In the back of my head, I hope that was one of those, but I was not upset either watching.
Especially against Doc, that would have been really nice.
Yes.
But
who is so annoying to look at.
Pretty annoying, yeah.
And he's got a very manicured little mustache thing going on now, and I just want to rip his face off. I would never touch him, but I just want to rip his face off and say fuck you. But all right, over to the game.
Yeah, I mean, they always lose opening night. They won the first night of the process, the MCW game against the Heat. They started 3-0 that season, if you remember. I'm sure you do.
Yep.
And then like they've never won an opening night game ever. They just don't do it. It's not a thing that happens. So they like to start in the hole. Maxey, who's just dribbling so much, man. They have so little shot creation without him, and the team, I would say, looked a little bit worse offensively to start than I expected that they would. Maybe some of it was nerves and just feeling each other out and stuff. It just seemed like they were like standing around a lot, taking a lot of late clock crap, a lot of give the ball to Maxey with a couple seconds left, and then just have him do something. It was a lot of dribbling. He took 31 shots. A lot of those shots were not great shots to take. Nick Nurse said it after the game that like they challenged Brook Lopez too much.
Yeah,
which I agree with. I mean, he is the best player in the league for a reason.
Well, and point being, his overall point was when we beat somebody and we get to the rim, we're still another pass away, and we didn't make that pass, and we ended up just not making that pass and trying to challenge Brook Lopez.
That's like really simple basketball. Like the idea, and I get challenging guys sometimes. And I definitely want to challenge. Look, I'm a dunk guy. I want them to be challenging. I don't mind missing dunks. They went up with a couple tonight. Couple missed. We'll talk about Mr. Drummond, but you just want to like you beat one man, and if you force somebody else to help, then you did your job. Then that's a successful possession. Kick it to whoever that man just left. Like that's just the most simple basketball that you can do. And too often it felt like whether it was Maxey or Oubre or sometimes Eric Gordon or really a lot of guys were not, except for maybe Lowry. We're not just going, okay, this guy's come over, somebody's open, I'm going to get the open shot. And that's what the Bucks did over and over again in a way that obviously frustrates me. If you've ever listened to this podcast before, the Sixers helped before they beat their man off the dribble, and then was one pass away, and Taurean Prince didn't miss any shots. So it's just like, that's going to happen. They're gonna, if their role players are going to hit shots, and we're not going to make those passes to get those open shots, then you're going to lose that game. Sixers shot 8 of 31 from three. Bucks shot 16 of 37. Am I concerned like long term about anything? Not really. Even role players making threes wise, like they're going to have more space to take those threes when Joel and Paul George are there than when it's just Maxey that they have to key in on. So yeah. Maxey wasn't that good, but no, I just don't think that I'm reluctant to think that Maxey has like the leap in him to become like a top 10 player in the league.
To become like he gets compared to Dame a lot as far as skill set. To get to that level is it's a big leap. It's a significant leap from where he is now.
Dame like 5 years
prime
ago.
Dame. Prime Dame. Oh yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think that's just going to be tough. I will say, like, I did think you saw, especially early on, he kind of got frustrated over the course of the game, which he wasn't getting calls, which I get. They're kind of like letting a lot of guys play.
Mm-hmm.
Good physicality was being allowed, which I'm mostly fine with.
Yeah, remember that happened right after the All-Star break last year. They just started calling the games differently, which I like. It's
I'd
fine.
prefer it to be that.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer it to be that if we had to pick. I like that Maxey went back to the floater that he had sort of abandoned for most of last year. Had some success with that floater. He was getting into his mid-range a little bit. The sort of stop and go, like diversify your game stuff. He was sort of showing that a little bit of like snaking a pick and roll here and there. That first step back was nice where he went around the Drummond screen. But yeah, I mean, he had his share of impressive finishes around the rim and his share of like, yeah, you're just not that vertical of an athlete, and you're going up against bigger guys, and if they're collapsing on you, you're gonna have a tough time hitting those shots. And sometimes he hits them, and a lot of times he doesn't. And I'd prefer him to, when it's on him more, I'd prefer it to be like, okay, I'm the focal point of the offense. No Embiid, no Paul George. I'm gonna get advantages and then kick it to shooters and find guys. Let it be the time when I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to get 20 some shots, but I'm also going to get like 14 assists. Like I would love it to be like, give me a couple of those games. That's a little bit less like, okay, I have to take all the shots. I have to do everything. I have to create everything all myself. And instead just do a little bit more like what Trae Young will do or what Harden will do. Like just beat one guy and then assess the floor of where the help is coming from and find the shooter there. Like I would love for it to be a little bit more like that.
Well, yeah, I think the difference between, you're talking about two guys who are excellent passers and creators, and Maxey's not quite there yet. It's one of the reasons I like the lineups with Lowry in there with Maxey, is because it gives them sort of a more natural point guard for Maxey, and it lets Maxey concentrate specifically on scoring and moving, and almost like he's pretty active as an off ball guard, you know. He's not Steph or anything, but he's moving around a lot, and I think he puts sort of a different pressure on the defense when there's an actual point guard out there with him, which I think, by the way, Paul George is not a point guard, but he is a creator, and it'll allow Maxey to move around a little bit too, you know?
For sure. And I think it's not a surprise that Nick definitely went back to Lowry and Maxey together a lot. I felt Lowry played great. Shot looked good. He looked fresh. I don't want him to be playing 35 minutes a night like he was towards the end of last season, but I think he's useful and can be helpful, and his minutes should be monitored because there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to be helpful all season. But it's not a surprise to me that a guy like Eric Gordon, who I would say didn't have a good offensive game, missed shots around the rim, a couple nice grab, attack, closeout type of thing, even if he didn't finish. And he was 0 for 2 from 3. He finished as a +6 in 22 minutes. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that because it's just like the threat of the shot at all times is always going to create space, because people trust his shot to go in or to be a threat more than they trust really anybody else on this roster at this point.
And when he's on the floor with, and by the way, space begets space when you're talking about him playing with Embiid and George too. Like I think the Eric Gordon thing, and Nick, like, you know, we had both agreed that eventually it seemed like Eric Gordon was going to start. It actually seems like Nick Nurse made that decision with a couple of games left to go in preseason, and brought Caleb Martin off the bench today, which I think is going to, Caleb Martin started the second half, but I think Eric Gordon with the starting lineup specifically, the full starting lineup, is going to be a different Eric Gordon than we saw tonight generally. But I think that space will help the other players on the team as well.
Yeah, and I'll say Eric Gordon defensively, I thought he looked decidedly not washed.
Yeah, he's strong and he moves his feet well. Yeah. He's not fast or anything, but he is strong and he moves his feet well. Yeah. The Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast presented by Draftkings Sportsbook. By the way, this is like behind the scenes Ricky facts, but like, we're going to be with Draftkings for a while longer. We got a new Draftkings and the Ricky going to be together forever. So that's good. So you're going to hear that Draftkings Sportsbook pod stuff a lot moving forward. Sweet. Even more than for years to come, or until we die. So Draftkings, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Sixers were 3.5-point dogs tonight. You know, they opened up as 3.5-point favorites until Embiid got ruled out, and then they were 3.5-point dogs. I really liked Maxey over 29.5 points today. And I saw that, and I jumped on it, and I didn't get it, did I? No, I think he finished with 26 or something. What do you think of the Eagles this weekend? 3.5-point dogs in Cincinnati at DraftKings?
I can't remember them ever beating Cincinnati.
Well, they've tied them twice. They tied the Donovan tie game.
Yeah, I was in college for that one. I famously, in my group of friends, my parents got me an Eagles trash can, and during that tie game, like a college trash can, just like one of those things. And during the tie to the Bengals, I just kicked the shit out of it. and my parents still have the trash can I believe at their place as a memorial to it. And my friends' parents bring it up all the time because they saw it when they visited. They're like, what happened to this? And they're alarmed by it. But it's like, yeah, well, this is what you get. They shouldn't have fucking tied.
Speaking of betting the NBA and DraftKings, don't worry about just betting the games. The props are the fun part. I was mentioning Maxey. I liked him over 29.5 points. Didn't happen, but you can bet Andre Drummond rebounds. Yep. You could bet Maxey assists if you wanted. You could bet Maxey threes. I think one of my coworkers was saying bet Maxey 6+ threes today. Didn't hit, but you'll hit them sometimes. Anyway, if it's your first time at DraftKings Sportsbook, new customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's with code RTRS. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code RTRS. That is code RTRS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. Loved watching Gershon Yabusele tonight. He is such a enormous, physically enormous person. His shot's not slow, and he seems pretty willing. You know, he hit that corner three, but overall seems pretty willing and is just dove on the floor for a loose ball tonight, which is more loose balls than Tobias Harris dove for in 5.5 years with the Sixers. So I was a fan of Yabusele. It'll be nice when Embiid is there and he's not like the primary backup center, because I think it in spurts is fine, but it as a primary thing, he's not big enough, and he's not tall enough, and he's not enough of a threat from three to make it uncomfortable on the other team. But I loved watching him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough. I like the option to go to Yabu as a backup five. This is a really tough team to do it against because Milwaukee's so big. I mean, Brooke and Giannis and Bobby Portis, those are big dudes. And he hits that first corner three, which is nice. It's a good welcome back to the league kind of thing. He misses the next 3 threes. There was one time when I was like, oh, you hesitated because you missed the last one. I would like for you to just be, if you're going to be that guy, you got to be that guy.
Just keep shooting.
Just keep shooting it. It's not like there was a ton of other good stuff happening on the offensive end for us. But he makes quick decisions. He moves the ball. A lot of people online were making the same point of you can tell he plays a Euro style of basketball and that he just keeps moving and doesn't the ball doesn't stick in his hands too much. Had a nice finish off the short roll from Lowry. I might have gone to Bona at some point when when they were just sort of abusing us inside. The rebounding was not the issue, I will say. In a way that it usually always is. The Sixers got 17 offensive rebounds to the Bucks 8. Bucks also obviously made a bunch more shots, which makes those offensive rebounds harder to come by. But I thought the team as a whole rebounded pretty well. It was just sort of on switches, on rotations. It felt like it was a lot of Kyle Lowry and Tyrese Maxey and Brooke Lopez you're trying to stop, and Giannis you're trying to stop on the roll or something. And so it was tough. So I think as a whole, it was kind of an issue. But Yabo, I thought was a really solid welcome back to the NBA moment. When they signed him, it was is he just going to be here? Is he going to make the rotation? How useful is he going to be? And I think he proves that he belongs in the NBA.
100%. I think that is absolutely for sure. The starting center, Andre Drummond. Look, we don't need to do the 3-point shooting thing, I think. He did have, I think, 10 rebounds in the first quarter or something, outrageous number. And he does like lobs, which I enjoy.
Yep.
And he will be
finish one from Oubre.
Yep. He will be a fine regular season backup center, Andre Drummond. I've never been an Andre Drummond guy, but I am conceding he will be an absolutely positively fine backup center during the season.
Absolutely. And I think if you go yes, and they will be able to survive more games when Embiid's not there because he is at least stable as a Joel replacement on the glass and on the defensive end. Like, we've said this, but having a guy who just sort of plays the same way as Joel, rather than, at least defensively, rather than like Paul Reed, who you'd rather switch everything on and that kind of deal. It just sort of got messy, and there was a comfort in watching Milwaukee miss shots early on when the game was still pretty close, and it was just like, oh, they're just getting the rebounds. Like, it's not like a parade of people like getting in line to try to get offensive boards on like an overmatched Sixers front line. So that was kind of nice. I also like the offensive rebounding from Drummond. Like, the cool thing about it's not just like what I was saying before about Maxey. Hey, if you draw the second defender, then make that pass. But sometimes if you just draw the second defender at the rim, and then they come, and then you miss, or it's a block, or it hits the rim and bounces off, then there's Drummond right there to clean it up. And we got a bunch of plays off of that. There was Drummond, there was KJ Martin had a couple of those, I think. It was just nice to. I always hate that when it happens to the Sixers. Like, that's the most frustrating thing, where it's like the big man comes over to contest the shot of a guard, and then the guard misses, and then the big that they left is obviously the next biggest guy on the floor, and you're hoping that the point guard who's rotated over can box him out, but it's fruitless. So I like that. It feels like such an easy and like gut wrenching moment for the defense when you can do that. But yeah, I thought Drummond was fine. I'm fine. I'm happy he's here. He was fine.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I liked, just to say, I liked offensive rebounding was one thing, but also just like you mentioned, Gershon getting on the floor. Caleb Martin, I thought, did a lot of this, but like, I like being the hustle energy 50-50 ball team. It's really nice to see that it is not
having never been that team ever.
Never been that team ever. Yeah. Like, they're going to steal possessions. They're going to steal opportunities just because they're all trying. There was like I think that's always to me been the most ideal kind of team to surround Joel with, is a team where it's just a bunch of guys that are flying around everywhere. They have to be able to hit enough shots, obviously. And that's why Maxey has been such a godsend, because he is capable of doing that, and at the point guard position. And then Paul George getting to be like the sort of blend between those two things. You just want a bunch of guys that are fucking flying around athletically doing stuff, and watching Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre, KJ Martin, Ricky Council, everybody just going for that. It's like, this is basketball. Like, this is what basketball should be. And it feels like for so often it's been like, man, I wish that Korkmaz or James Ennis can like get up and just like get something. And it's just like, they weren't enough. And it was nice to see. I thought Caleb's athleticism and motor was really on display. He can kind of just do a little bit of everything, burst to the basket, passing, rebounding, offensive rebounding. He had 4 offensive rebounds. They brought him off the bench, which I don't mind, but I do think he is clearly one of their 4 or 5 best players. I was happy with that. And even though KJ didn't have a good game, I think that you can tell that there's chemistry between him and Maxey on the pick and roll. Yeah,
Caleb Martin's going to be a learning experience for me.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I had this moment during the preseason where I was like, he's got a little like Oubre in him. And then I was watching him tonight. I actually texted MOC, and I was like, I don't know about Caleb Martin. And he said, why? And I said, well, he seems like he's a second or a half second late on every pass because he's thinking about shooting it, and he makes decisions to maybe go on his own a little early. But I need to see him in the full context of the full team without this. And he does work very hard defensively. And I do feel like there will be games. And I think, honestly, them bringing him off the bench, I think Nick Nurse wants probably a little more offense from him than he would have if he was in the starting lineup. A little more, go get a bucket here and there. So, but I don't instantly love watching him like I figured I would. But
I do.
Yeah,
he's my kind of guy. He's just like, I like that he's quick he's like high points a ball. There's some Josh Hart there for sure. I like how quick he is to just like get to the basket, one dribble, and he's there. He has maybe I see a little bit of what we're talking about with Oubre, a little bit of dance with the ball, but that just means he's like capable of it in the way that, Danny Green isn't.
Yeah.
He can make a play. He has dribble drive game. Like if you watched him and his brother, they transferred twice, but at Nevada especially, they were like score first guys. Like they rarely passed or did anything. Like to selfish ball hog level, like no point guard on the team, just the two of them, and mostly Caleb, I believe. One of them was more of the ball hog than the other one, but they were just like getting shots up, doing whatever they had to do. And then in the league, they've really, through the Miami system, like really transcended into being like complete competent role player guy. And I like that he still has some ability to go like, oh, okay, there's 4 seconds left in the shot clock. I can at least get myself a like 12-foot jumper that looks decent, or get to the rim and get fouled or something like that. I really like him a lot. I think the fact that it's when there's no Embiid and there's no Paul George, and it's like you're looking at the guys on the court and you're like, there's 3 guys that you don't really trust as a shooter.
Right.
That's maybe a little bit too much. I understand that, but I don't pin that on him so much as like kind of the Sixers making the best that they can make out of it. Like maybe the best. Ideally, when they trade for the next power forward or whatever, it's somebody that you really trust as a shooter, like a Kelly Olynyk or something like that. So that you can go, okay, this makes just a lot more sense, balance wise.
Yeah, Oubre looked like Oubre tonight. He had a few chances to finish around the rim, which he didn't do. The Sixers weren't very good, aside from getting blocked. They weren't very good around the rim generally. Felt like they missed a lot of layups. But Oubre looked like Oubre. I didn't think much one way or another tonight on him. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Kyle Lowry looked like Kyle Lowry. I've realized that one of Kyle Lowry's skills is hitting a 3 when you're ready to give up on the game to keep it just close enough to think that they can come back.
Yeah.
I thought he did that a lot last year.
I love Lowry, dude. He instantly got like a pickpocket steal from behind off Portis. He's just such a little shit. I can't imagine what it's like to be a player playing against him and just resenting him. He drew a foul on Portis when he started like fighting with him on the free throw line. He's always trying to get the ball quickly from the refs. And there was a stretch during the maybe third when it was like, okay, this is the time where the comeback might be happening right now. And the team sort of adopts his energy during that spurt when it's like a frenzied chaos and he's like leading it, and everyone's like, okay, we're going to draw steals. We're going to draw like out of bounds plays. We're going to get the ball out quickly. We're going to get some shots up. And it's like, there's a coolness to that as the backup, guard that I like that we get in this. There's a stabilizing force to Lowry and also an energizing force to Lowry, and I really like that. And especially when the jump shots are going in, he's just still such a really very helpful player.
Yeah.
Oubre had a couple moments where it was like, there are not enough good players here right now.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not the one that we don't. This is the one we don't like as much, Kelly. Yeah. This is a little too many responsibilities for you there, pal. Yes, but I don't think that's on him. It's not necessarily on him. I don't think. I'd be happy to blame him for it, but they need somebody to do something, without
Yeah.
Absolutely. He didn't 1 for 6 from 3. My prediction for him was 37 or 38%. I'm only going to count that in the games that at least one of Paul George or Joel play.
You're such
I'm only going to count that. I'm only going to count it for those. This game doesn't count for that. So strike this from the record.
That is such a fraudulent way to.
No, my rationale though was that they're going to open up more space for him. He's going to hit shots. They're not there, so this doesn't count. This counts for last season. Add it to last season's total.
All right.
And then again, every time Kelly goes downhill, like it's special. Like he had that floater going. There's nobody that can elevate high enough to really impact his shot. And he had over and over again, he was getting those floaters off around the rim. He got those off over Brook Lopez. I mean, he's a really, if you just cut out that bottom 20%, couple dumb, like one dumb turnover, some like falling asleep on the defensive end. The whole team kind of got backdoored a lot, too much ball watching. But if you can just cut that down, then Kelly all of a sudden is like, he's just good. He's just
pretty
good.
Before we get to the knee stuff, first of all, Fly the Process is open for business. You can make your reservation now. We're going to Atlanta in March for Dunk Away the Demons. The Sixers need to attempt 8 dunks.
Need 8.
8 dunks as proposed by Mike to rid ourselves of the Ben Simmons curse.
Please.
We're going with Fans of Philly. We leave on March 21st, coming back that's a Friday, come back on March 24th. We stay at the beautiful Omni Atlanta Hotel Centennial Park. We'll all have tickets together. We'll have a pregame party. We'll have a thing postgame. We'll have a thing the night before. It's going to be fucking awesome. You get your t-shirt, you get your special t-shirt with the Fly the Process logo on it. Fans of Philly, if you've ever been on any of our trips, you know that Fans of Philly does it right. And if you haven't, I promise you, it's just like the whole thing is perfect. It'll be a great time. So go to ricericksanchez.com/fly. You can do a package with the flight. You can do a package without the flight. If you live down there already, or if you're coming from somewhere other than Philly, send an email to joe@fansoffphilly.com for a custom package. The Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. We got an email. I don't know if we'll get to the full email, but Kelly wrote us as the non-basketball question. She said, "We love the Big Barker shout-outs, but are you guys anti-allowing your dog to sleep in your bed and experience the comfort of a human mattress? Dog cuddles when waking up might be a top 10 joy of life." I'm not against the dog in the real bed. I'm against the dog starting off in the real bed. Especially now when my wife isn't home, dog wants to start off in the bed, totally fine. When my wife's there, I want to fall asleep next to my wife and then the dog in the bed. Rebel sleeps on his Big Barker all night long. Loves sleeping on his Big Barker, has for years. Scotchy, our new dog, starts off in her Big Barker and then at about 1:30 in the morning, not only climbs into bed, but fully under the covers by my feet, which is fucking weird, but whatever. Look, Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds they're just important for your dog's health, important for your dog's happiness. And I know it sounds crazy to talk about your dog's health with a bed, but it really does make a difference. The Big Barker dog beds are engineered by experts to keep your dog healthy. This is what I mean by health. If you slept on a bad mattress for a night, I'm sure you have once, you wake up and you feel, your back hurts, your leg hurts, whatever. You feel like you didn't get a good night of sleep. Now imagine that was every single night. It would compound. It would make it worse. Dogs are the same, and dogs sleep their asses off. That's why you need to get yourself a Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed. Not yourself, but for your dog. So your dog does feel happier, does feel healthier. A study by Penn Vet showed that that exact thing happened. Improvement in joint function, reduction in pain severity. Dogs develop arthritis, joint stiffness, just like humans do. And that's why it's important they have a real bed. If you go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you not only get the great Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed, you get 2 Process Pup patches that you can iron on. This black and white one. You also get a red, white, and blue one and some stickers. And you send us a picture of your dog on the bed, put them in the Process Pup gallery. They have beds for every dog size, from tiny little one, the Barker Jr., to the big, huge one. There's a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten her. They replace it for free. There's a 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, your dog doesn't like it, they'll give you a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping, and it's handmade in the USA. Big Barker Dog Beds. Are you ready to move on to Joel and Paul George?
Tiny, last couple things. Tiny.
Yes.
Jared McCain played with energy, got a couple buckets, moved around fast. Seems very small. He's jumping with Brook Lopez.
He does look small, actually.
He looks very small.
Yeah.
That's sort of what it is.
Yeah.
But he, plays with energy and people, and it's good to see him healthy after a scary fall. And I like him and I root for him, and he was wearing a towel like a scarf on the bench, which is fun. Not a surprise that he's not in the rotation to start the season. Not a surprise that Nick Nurse only went pretty much 8 deep.
8 deep. Yeah.
He did go to Ricky Council for a little bit. It seemed like Ricky was like, he had a little bit of that B-ball Paul look to him.
Yes.
When B-ball is being like, I know what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do, and I'll play a little.
I really want to do the other
sad.
stuff.
Yeah, I want to do the other stuff, but I'm going to play a little bit sad, a little bit like I'm frowning. But he did hit a catch and shoot 3, so good for him.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to take to get minutes, and I do think that some of that energy, I wouldn't mind, Nick like cycling through. Okay, who's hot between him and KJ? Who feels right? Who's playing better? I don't mind KJ tonight against Giannis, but whatever. And it was good to see a Dembona get in there and set screens and get a big offensive rebound and put back over Brook Lopez. Like he's a hustle big. He will grow into a very solid backup big man. I was happy to see that for him. And I found there was not a Reggie Jackson injury, right? He was not on the injured report.
No, we agreed. We don't even know that he's actually on the team.
Yeah, maybe. But Lester Quinones got in there over him. Maybe it was just like a garbage time decision. I was a little surprised that Nick didn't go to Reggie for anything, but maybe it's all just a big mystery. Maybe he's not actually here. And it's just it's the secret vacant roster spot.
Yeah. So completely unsurprising if you listen to this podcast, you shouldn't be surprised. On Tuesday, the Sixers announced that Paul George, now this one was not a surprise at all. Paul George was not going to play in the opener, was going to be reevaluated toward the end of the week. I listened to Podcast P, the second time I ever listened to it, and he seemed very unworried about it on Podcast P, so that was a good sign.
Good.
Now, I did say on this podcast the last time we did a pod together that I didn't think Joel was going to play in the opener, and I thought he might miss a week or a week and a half. Mm-hmm. And we all dealt with it, and I hope you listened to the pod, and that would have prepared you. But in pure Sixers fashion, even though I'm sure they knew for at least 2 weeks that he wasn't going to play in the opener.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, Mike, I don't know if you noticed, but the day before the game, they texted everybody and announced that Joel Embiid was not ready to play in the opener, would not play Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, would be reevaluated over the weekend, and he was continued to be ramped up.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Yes. It sounds too right. And here's what will make it sound more familiar to it.
Okay.
Per Shams Charania today, the NBA is likely to commence an investigation into the Philadelphia 76ers surrounding the player participation of all NBA center Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
sources told
right.
ESPN.
That sounds right.
Yeah, getting investigated because they're sitting a player who they insist is not hurt, which is against the rules.
Now, does that count as a what the fuck moment?
Yes.
You think?
Yeah.
Even though if it's happened before?
I think so. I think if you combine this, the pulmonary contusion of Jared McCain, they all come together as one.
No, he didn't miss any games for that.
No.
I'm not going to count that.
Okay.
I'm not going to count that.
So
we have to debate. We decide this. Does this count as a what the fuck moment?
I think it does. CJ, do you?
CJ, what's the verdict?
I think because it's happened before, I would say no, but I'm not against.
It's no.
Yeah.
It's no.
Okay.
That's the CJ ruling. If we don't agree and CJ is the deciding vote, that's a no.
Okay. All right. Then I'm fine. I'm fine with whatever you guys rule. It's fine with me. So, Nick Nurse answered the question sort of irritated and vaguely on day one. Now
I asked him and he was like, what do you want me to say?
Yeah. And he didn't he was specifically asked whether he was hurt or hurt it again, and Nick didn't answer, which... So if he had just given this answer, by the way, the one that he gave today, I think it would have been better. I don't know how he wouldn't be prepared to be asked that question yesterday, but here was the answer today.
Playing in these first 3 games is part of the plan, not because he's still dealing with that injury or re-injured himself during the Olympics.
The plan is why he's not playing, yes. He did not re-injure himself. But the plan is we don't feel like he's quite ready, strong enough, light enough, whatever it is that they've determined that he's not quite ready to go, hasn't been in any full court scrimmages, etc. And that's the plan.
Nick, with the playing.
There you go. Okay, couple things.
Let's go.
First, the things that you don't care about that I care about.
Okay.
But I think they create anxiety around the team, which is not good. Whether they specifically bother you or not, I think they create public anxiety.
Spike, if anxiety around the team is not good, we've been making a mistake for quite some time.
For whatever reason that they have decided to slow play this, even though it became very obvious to me that this was going to happen, and not talk about it. You wonder why they say that you're lying and think that you're hiding something is because of this. Is because if you aren't lying or hiding something, then people think, well, why didn't you know this 2 weeks ago? And if you are lying or hiding something, what are you lying or hiding?
That's right.
Right? So, and I know, and we've brought this up a billion times, I know that Joel specifically is not always comfortable with his injury stuff being public. All that said, you make people mad at you unnecessarily when you handle stuff this way. It's bad. It's not good for Joel. It's not good for the Sixers. It's not good for anybody to have everybody pissed off right around the home opener or right around the opener when this is supposed to be a fun season. So, like, if you're not telling people so you sell more tickets to the opener, that's fucked up.
Do you think that's really it?
I have no idea. It's so dumb.
I don't think, here's the thing. You said it because we've had this conversation 18 times, and I resent CJ for not just playing an old conversation and letting me like take a bath.
Yeah.
This has happened. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think whether they said it 4 days ago versus when they say it now makes any difference in anyone's life. I think the press will get on Joel just as much. First, Marcus Hayes is going to write some of the most heinous shit you've ever read because it's the same thing every time, no matter when it happens. But why not get ahead of it a little bit earlier to make it a little bit easier?
Yeah,
and we've been doing this for sure.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for so long, for 77 years of this exact kind of thing, and they've never gotten it right. It's always vague and weird. And so what is the one consistent thing? They've presumably had different medical staffs. They've had different coaches. They've had different GMs. It's Joel.
Yeah.
It's just got to be Joel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I don't understand. You said it. I don't disagree with it, but it doesn't make sense to me why he doesn't want his injury stuff like public. It's like, well,
it's public.
Is.
Yes.
It is. It's going to happen sooner rather than later.
And people talk about it more and more negatively when you're vague about it.
Yeah.
Because, especially if there's nothing, if he did not re-injure it. Like if it's,
right.
So the way I think about it is this. Him actually missing the games, not a big deal to me. It means they are
the
keeping.
opener is a bummer.
It's a bummer, but they're keeping to what they said. Like, the old Embiid would have said, just let me play in the opener. I feel fine. They're saying, we want you to be in as prepared as you can be. Okay, fine. The other question that comes out is, well, should he have played in the Olympics? And if he could play in the Olympics, why couldn't he do this? Answer to that is he didn't look good enough in the Olympics physically. And I think what might have happened is he plays in the Olympics, and because he didn't actually physically prepare to be in the Olympics, he probably needed time to rest afterwards,
Sure.
which means that the time to ramp up starts later than it should.
Yeah.
If you don't think he should have played in the Olympics, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you on it. I still would take the Olympics part of it.
Yeah.
And truthfully, here's the end of all of it is like, if all three of them played today and they look great and they scored 130 points and they beat the Bucks, most of the people complaining would say one thing. They would say, call me when it happens in fucking May.
Sure.
So like, I'm just in it for this whole plan is going to be a high wire act that is going to be difficult to pull off, especially if Paul George is also missing back-to-backs and they're trying to time it and get enough games in. But this is what it is for this year. I just like, it's just so annoying they continue to do it this way. It's like maddening, you know? It's maddening that it happens this way every time. It makes me feel dumb.
I think what they're maybe just reluctant to say, even for Joel, is that Joel can say, like, I'm probably not going to play back-to-backs. I'm gonna not play them, and that's something he can go like, okay, it's a Kawhi style thing. Like, I'm a guy who doesn't play back-to-backs. That's fine. But I think maybe what the like real plan might be is like you can play like 40 games.
Oh, you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's like that's what it is, but it's like the more, I don't know if it's rest between games or just fewer games on your knees, feet, back, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it seems like
that number is going to be lower than we think it is.
Like there's no way to test it, right? Every season is its own thing.
Yep.
So like if you could tell me Embiid is fully healthy all season long, doesn't have like he sprained his knee, he like, you know, had a high ankle sprain, whatever it is. How many games does he play?
Right.
I mean, I think Embiid is having you believe it would be like 63 or something like that.
And it's probably 48.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, it's a bummer, but like we've been doing the other thing for a really long time and it hasn't worked. And some of those injuries are fluky and freaky and like whatever. The one time Embiid was healthy was in the bubble when he didn't play that much, you know? And then maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just he's just so goddamn big. And the thing, by the way, offensively, the thing they missed with Embiid this game was defense, as always. They've never had a stable defense without Joel. And the hope is that like with Oubre and Paul George and Caleb Martin and Drummond and like Lowry, you can cobble together a non-fall apart defense without Joel. But he's one of the best defenders in the game. And like to the point that the fall off, no matter who you have after him, is always so steep that I think he's underrated defensively still. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as this goes, the Sixers, I don't know that they would, if you could do a draft of the 20, you know, top flight lead your team guys, if you like started over and it was a full draft, like Joel would not be close to the Sixers' first pick. I don't think. No. Because of how difficult this is to survive. But he is here and he is their best chance, along with obviously Maxey and now Paul George. And you just kind of got to go like, well, what is the best way to optimize that? What's the best way to make it work? How do you? And
they're guessing, by the way.
They're guessing, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's the same way with like even signing Paul George this offseason. It's like we are in an unenviable position. Yeah. There is not one way that's going to work. This Paul George way, where we just get cap space and then we taunt, you know, beloved local podcasters about it, is the best way that we can see. Maybe it has a 10% chance. Maybe it has a 30% chance. That number increased over the course of the season when Kawhi got his extension and Paul never did. But like, it's still, the odds are still low. And then he came here. And so this odds is the same thing where it's like, yeah, Joel is always at risk of getting hurt or like playing too much or not playing enough and not being ramped up and not having his conditioning ready. But it's like, it's such a delicate on a knife's edge balance the whole time. And we've been doing it for 8 years. And hopefully this is the year that it works. Like, that's really it. Like, whether they succeed in the playoffs or not, Boston looked incredible against the Knicks yesterday. It would just be really, really nice for Joel to be healthy for it.
Just healthy. That's healthy, whether they win or don't win.
Yeah.
You know, the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by MortgageCS. We love MortgageCS. First of all, thank you to MortgageCS for all of their support with Bark in the Park. They have now, I think this is their 3rd year, and they have a big sponsorship for Bark in the Park with Providence Animal Center, and they also made another big donation last week to help get us toward our goal. So we love them. If you need a mortgage, if you're going to get a mortgage, if you're going to think about buying a house, and by the way, when my wife and I are going to move, you know, when we move, we're going to go to MortgageCS to get our mortgage. You got to start with MortgageCS. They are an independent mortgage broker. They do not take on too much work, so they're always available for you, right? A lot of mortgage brokers, you deal with them and like it's hard to get an answer and they always seem rushed and they always seem hurried. That's not the way MortgageCS operates. They are independent, which means that the loans they're getting you when they're telling you here's the option or here's the option, they don't have a quiet deal with one of the banks to lead you one place. They're going to take you whatever is best for you. Some advice, by the way. Start with MortgageCS. You know, we bought this house in 2021, and a few of the houses I went to visit, when I talked to the realtor, they tried to push their mortgage broker on me. You don't have to do that. And when you're in there and you're in the whole thing, you're like, oh, this might help me or whatever. Just go to MortgageCS first, because what could happen is you'll get further down the line and you've gone with somebody else, and you know. If you start with MortgageCS, not only are you going to get help you find the best rate they can, but they're going to give you more information than the other mortgage brokers are. So many of the emails we've gotten from MortgageCS customers who are Ricky listeners talk about the time that Alec or Ben spent with you and how informative they were and how you know so much more about the process. So I would start with MortgageCS. The second thing is use them for a second opinion. Even if you're already pre-approved with somebody else, talk to MortgageCS so you can see the difference between the two. Even if you don't end up going with them, I promise you'll feel better about the entire process if you get a second opinion from MortgageCS, even if you've started with somebody else. And don't let the realtor tell you there's not enough time, or don't let the mortgage broker you've already worked with say there's not enough time to switch lenders. You can always get a second opinion. They're always available for you. Ben, the CEO, this is his cell phone number, 267-391-7425. Always available at night, on the weekends, whenever you need a pre-qualification letter, need some advice, or just go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. So again, call or text Ben, their CEO, whenever you want, even right now, 267-391-7425, or go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. MortgageCS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. Couple of odds and ends here. First of all, a couple of odds and ends about other podcasts. We saw a photo.
Oh God.
Yesterday or the day before.
Oh no.
With Tyrese Halliburton, former U.S. President Barack Obama, and Tommy Alter. There he is, Tommy Alter, on the couch, slouching like a fucking slob, by the way, interviewing former President Barack Obama. Tommy Alter. I saw one of the clips. They were talking about the NBA All-Star game, going back and forth. Tommy Alter with former president.
Hang on. Read the tweet.
The tweet says, exciting news. We are bringing back the old man in the three as the young man in the three.
Okay, who's, first of all, clever?
Yep.
And I presume, I was going to think, he's not the young man. Tyrese is the young man.
Yes. Okay, a rotating collective of special guest hosts from around the world. The great Tyrese Halliburton.
No, you missed something there.
From around the basketball world.
And now describe what that, you're You're not seeing basketball. You're seeing an emoji of basketball.
Yes.
And that's good stuff. And that's just good stuff. You can't get that from anywhere else.
And the other
You
good
need
part,
Tommy for that shit. Like, what if I say, instead of basketball, I just put in a basketball? How about
this
this?
fucking guy is still hanging around with this podcast without JJ Redick. So
A tweet where he's saying, hey, I interviewed the president. And he's like, let me do a little basketball emoji here.
yeah.
Fucking Obama is on the podcast and he's like, let me do a little emoji here. What is going? And he posts a picture of himself, big crotch.
Yep.
And
well, look at this. Why is he sitting like that?
what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is he there? What's he do?
And then Barack Obama himself posted an Instagram post that he did the podcast and tagged Tommy Alter.
He tagged him? Did he really tag him?
He tagged.
Did he really fucking tag him?
He tagged him.
Is that true?
He did.
He tagged him? Barack on his Instagram app, pressing the @ button and then searching for Tommy? That happened?
It did. Or one of his handlers. It did, yes.
What on earth?
So,
How did it happen?
Yep.
What's going on?
He just
Someone
keeps on
has to
punking
stop
you.
it.
Yeah.
Someone has to stop it.
So here's another moment from a different podcast. So Kelly Oubre was on Podcast P. And
I thought this was nice.
Yes. Now, here's an interesting thing that happened on the podcast. We all know Kelly Oubre does something on the Sixers that nobody else really does very much, and that is dunk. But what we found out on the podcast is that he does something else that is in particular interest to the Ricky universe, considering past conversations. Here's the clip.
You're into guitars, right? So like this is the new hobby that you've picked up. I'm not sure many people know about that. And I saw like we talked a little bit yesterday on the plane, and that shit is interesting.
Yeah.
Like what got you like what ultimately got you into that?
Shit right here too.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we might have to have you close out.
You know you gotta give us something.
Yeah, that ain't free though. But
come on, I got $2. Shit.
No, money ain't a thing for sure. But what got me into it, man, was I just kind of needed to like settle down. I've always had a guitar next to me or around me my whole life. Like, I think my grandma got me a guitar when I was like 10, right? And then played it, learned it, got on Guitar Hero, started playing video games. Totally just thought I was the man, but I lost the discipline. Last year, I needed kind of a different way of meditating in a sense, like a different way of getting lost into something. And, I picked up a guitar, started learning it. And I told Peter yesterday too, I was like, yeah, you suck at first. And it kind of humbled me because like, it was a weird year last year for me personally. And then like me picking up a new hobby where it's frustrating in a sense, I had to really like dig deep and just trying to find that happiness within, just the journey. And that's exactly what it is for me. And I picked up a love for it. But at the end of the day, it's just like, it soothes me when basketball ain't really like going well for me.
You got an album coming out?
Do I have an album coming out? Nah, not yet.
2000 did the flute. He did the flute. You can do that just a guitar.
I got, I could for sure. I'll be just, pressing random little beats on YouTube and just like little hip hop beats and then freestyling. I can do something like that. But
so there's no question we have to get Kelly Oubre on the podcast and ask him the dunk or the guitar solo question.
If he could only do one?
Well, yeah, we got to ask him the question.
I honestly, I want to like protect you from that because I feel like it's pretty clear what the answer is going to be.
Well, I would love to know what the answer is. He does have a Misfits tattoo.
If he says the other one, he's lying.
If he says the guitar one, he's lying.
Yeah, he's either telling the very obvious truth for him. I mean, especially for him, like he's Kelly Oubre. Like, if you can't dunk, he's not shooting enough for it.
Well,
not cerebral enough for it, but he's getting there as a passer. It surprises me in absolutely no way that Kelly Oubre plays guitar.
Plays guitar, yeah.
Not a single way does it.
He also claimed to be a black belt in Taekwondo.
In the podcast he did.
Yes.
No. Guy's got a lot of interest. I think you have to as like a pro athlete. Like you have to. There's so much time that you're trying to. That's why Tobias read so much.
Yeah. Well, there's so much time also when you only go so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, especially then.
Yeah. A couple of quick things before we go. The hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week and the cooler comment of the pod are both very similar. So I did not listen to the pod with you and Seth Rosenthal and Kevin Arnovitz. And by the way, good to see that Kevin Arnovitz is around. You know, he doesn't do basketball anymore, so I thought that was neat. The cooler comment from Michael. Mike bringing on a deeply unhinged doppelganger, but from the Knicks universe was a treat. And then from GSC76 on YouTube, Mike talking to Seth was basically two Mikes talking to each other, LOL. And we got several comments that you and Seth were the same guy. So do you understand that? I don't know Seth Rosenthal at all. So
he's never been on this podcast before?
No.
Is that the first time he's been on there?
No, I don't remember being on ever.
I don't know.
If he did, maybe it was years and years ago. It certainly wasn't recent.
Yeah. I feel like I've done it before. But yeah, I mean, Seth's great. Yes, he's similar mindset, similar type of philosophical way to look at how the teams that we care about that make us want to die. So
Okay.
yeah. And and we're friends. So I'm not surprised that people thought that.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. And I think that was it. Oh no, final thing. So you mentioned earlier the Celtics beat up on the Knicks, but interesting story from Knicks world in that Mikal Bridges, his shot looks fucking weird, and this happened. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, we talked about it with Seth before on the last podcast, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, Seth was sort of, his impression was, it's probably going to be fine. I'm going to think that it's fine. But when Mikal had the shooting issue before the draft, his draft year, like it didn't affect the way that he shot in
Right.
summer league and preseason and then obviously in his career. And now, like that carried over in a big way to night one. Like they were covering him like he was not a threat really. And that on top of Josh Hart, who annoyingly wasn't hitting threes in this game, which was frustrating considering last playoff series when he was. I mean, it's bad. He hit a couple towards the end, but it's bad. And I think during the season is a tough time to recapture that.
It's not in June where you have 3.5 months before you're playing NBA basketball.
Yeah, you can take 3 weeks, not look at something, and then pick it up and go like, okay, what's the way I do this? Like, it's weird, man. That is a Sixery thing to happen to the Knicks.
Yeah.
And maybe it changes. I like Mikal. I really like his game. I enjoy him very much. I think he kicks ass. I wish they kept him. Zaire. We've done this, but like, it is a little bit nice for it to be happening to someone else for once.
Yes.
Like, I will just think that's somebody else's situation.
Well, the anxiety that must be going on in Knicks land, like I remember the first time it happened around here. Yeah. The constant, maybe today it'll be normal. Maybe today it'll be normal. And and knowing deep in your gut that something's wrong, but not wanting to say it out loud, which is the beginning part of it,
Something's wrong, and that we got fucking, totally punked by the Celtics.
Yes.
Was a tough one.
Yes.
That one.
Well, at least they only traded 6 first-round picks for him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. 2 things. It's nice that the Sixers don't have a shooting issue, a mental shooting issue type of thing happening right now. I will say that the Sixers version of that is just the constant dread of like, when are Embiid and Paul George going to get hurt? And specifically, is Embiid going to be out there for the playoffs? The Knicks thing is interesting. I don't think that they do the Mikal Bridges trade if the Towns trade happens first. I think if they had done the Towns trade,
they don't do the Bridges trade.
They don't do the Bridges trade.
I think that's probably correct. They are very locked into this team.
Yeah.
Right now, What was Seth? I guess I could just listen to it. Just that we're talking now. What was Seth's outlook on the Knicks in general?
I think he feels good about like the players in the team, but he starts to feel like the vibes are weird.
Oh, really?
The Experience Abu Dhabi jersey patch.
Yes.
Sort of set things kind of off on the wrong path. And he thinks Towns offensively is just like exactly perfect for what they need.
Yeah.
And Anunoby's, as far as like what Towns can, his deficiencies on the defensive end can be made up for the fact that like they have 2 of the 4 best defensive wings in basketball in Bridges and Anunoby. And then like, Josh Hart is also very solid and stable and can rebound and all that good stuff.
However, missing the crucial, I do think one of the toughest things about them last year was Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson too. Were both just, Mitchell Robinson, not as versatile an offensive player, but certainly tough defensively. It's hard to have a good defensive team when your center isn't a good defensive player.
I think certainly it's going to frustrate the hell out of Tibbs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting to I mean, the Celtics just looked so damn good last night in a way that was just really
terrifying.
I was watching that game being like, this is exciting. One of these teams is going to lose.
Yeah.
And then the Celtics looked so good that I was like, I couldn't even take any joy out of it.
Yeah.
It's really like, and you watch that and you go like, okay, what is the kind of thing that will stop this team from doing exactly what they want?
Yep.
And it's a healthy Joel.
Yeah.
Like if Joel is so good that all they're flying around, they just like can't get to the rim, which means like I thought the Knicks, I mean, I know that I do this, but like you can't send so much help. Like you're going to have to cover guys one-on-one because if you just drive and kick to shooters, like there's too many good shooters on that fucking team.
No help. When the defense is bad lately,
Defend the guy in front of you.
No help.
Too often just like stands and watches other guys.
No help.
We may as well try.
No help.
Is it going to work? I don't think it's going to work.
It didn't work.
And I'm not like, honestly, it's not even a Sixers game. This is a Knicks Celtics game. I don't care. And I'm watching it and it's like the answer can't be leaving guys open for threes off the catch. Like that cannot be the answer of how to defend this team. I don't understand it. You really have to go, okay, let's switch 1 through 4 and then make the other guys hit like, and then when it's Embiid dropping, then it's like, let's fucking get around those screens so fucking fast so you can get a hand up and make it hard on them. And there were a couple times that the Knicks did that. A couple times that the Celtics did that. Derek White did that in a really impressive way that me and Dan Ollinger were talking on Twitter. But it's just like, you just can't be sending guys. They can hit shots too easily. They can do that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I want to. We should have a coach on to talk about that.
Not a Sixers coach, obviously.
Probably not a Sixers coach.
Just any coach.
Probably not. Aren't you and David Thorpe in a fight?
Nah, I hate that guy.
Okay. So.
He's a fucking weirdo.
Okay.
You guys are fucking. Have you seen? Should I say this?
We had him on the podcast.
Yes.
And then you guys started fighting.
Well, he was a little bitch after he went off the podcast. He was like, he went on some other podcast. He talked shit. He's got a weird Facebook. Let me just say that.
Weird Facebook.
His Facebook is fucking weird. And
weird in what way?
Can I say, just like, go to his Facebook.
I'm going to do it now.
You'll spend hours reading the posts, which
How
are...
do I do it? There's so many of them.
Yes, and...
No, so many David Thorpes.
Oh, I'll send you the link.
Did I do coach?
Dude, there was one where he was talking shit on his dog.
Oh.
I think he has...
Okay, I found it.
Yeah. It's a lot of politics and weird personal stuff.
I'm not logged in.
Okay.
I've seen pictures.
Well, I'll find another coach. You wouldn't even call David Thorpe coach.
I won't. That's insane. It's insane. I'm not. You're not a general. You're not the fucking Secretary of State. I'm not gonna call him coach. He's not my coach. He's just straight up not. He isn't. But I would like someone who coaches basketball. Just because I'm not gonna call. Yeah.
I'll find a coach. I'll find a coach. I'll find a qualified coach.
I haven't done the coach rant in a while, and it just brought me back to doing it. It's insane that coaches think that it should be called coach by everyone. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. What's wrong with them? I talked to Arnovitz about coaches' demented brains.
I'll find a coach. How about this? Oh, you know who I know I could get? What's his name? Speedy Claxton. He's a coach.
Yeah, I'll talk to Speedy Claxton.
I can get Speedy Claxton. We had a relationship with him at FAN because he's at Hofstra, right? Yeah. Speedy Claxton is a coach. He seems to be a good coach. So I'll get Speedy Claxton.
Oh, we're talking about doubling.
All right.
Let's do it.
We will talk to you next time. Maybe Speedy Claxton will be here. Who knows? Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.